Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show. We have a special Tuesday edition. We will get double Wisco Fanatics today. Normally we do our shows on Wednesdays, but this Wednesday is Christmas Eve, so we are moving today's show to Tuesday. We will also have our Green Bay Packers show tonight, still regularly scheduled. But with that, I am rolling solo, at least for our Milwaukee Bucks portions of the show. Jake is under the weather, so I will be covering for Jake today as far as the Milwaukee Bucks are concerned, and then Mike will still be joining me for the Badgers basketball recaps in a little bit. But two Bucks games to recap that I'll do by myself, and then Mike will join me for Badgers basketball. So we're going to hit the intro and get started.
Welcome to another episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we cover the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, and Badgers basketball and football teams from an optimistic and realistic perspective.
Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
Alrighty, so like I said, we got two Milwaukee Bucks games today. With that, also tune into the Wisconsin Sports on the Go show with Trage tomorrow evening if you can. That'll be around 6:30 is when our segment will be on. But I joined Trage covering for Jake, who was also sick last night when we did our recording. But we're on the radio now as Bucks correspondents, and we actually started dabbling a little bit into the Milwaukee Brewers. So I think we'll probably be expanding what we're doing with our radio show as well as guests on the Wisconsin Sports on the Go show with Trage. So we're very thankful for him for allowing us to jump on with him. That said, have two Milwaukee Bucks games. I'm just going to give Jake's notes quickly on the Raptors game before jumping into mine. So with the Bucks and Raptors game, the first things that Jake said was he's got to give love to Bobby Portis again for scoring and rebounding like we've been asking him to. In this game, he did, Bobby Portis himself, have 24 points, 12 rebounds, 9 of 16 from the field, 3 of 6 from the three-point line, and 3 for 3 on free throws. Also had 2 steals and a block. While I love that Bobby Portis did that, it was fantastic. He played just shy of 40 minutes. I don't really think that's who Bobby Portis is on a consistent basis. I'd love that if he was, but unfortunately, that's just it's more hit and miss and not quite consistent enough, which is what I think we need to see out of Bobby Portis. Jake also said the Bucks don't play with enough defensive focus. If they aren't making shots, they aren't locked in, which I think is fair. Talking with Trade from the Wisconsin Sports on the Go show, I do think he asked me if I believe that it was more of an effort thing or an execution thing. I lean towards execution, but I can see from Jake's point of view a potential lack of mental effort at times. And I get that, everybody wants to be scoring all the time, and it's more fun when you're scoring and you get to touch the ball a lot. But you got to stay mentally locked in, and I do think some of these, especially when we get into the Timberwolves game, it's going to come down more so to execution than effort. Jake's last point on the Bucks and Raptors game from last Thursday was he wanted to know why Ryan Rollins wasn't in the starting lineup. Now, first thing, AJ Green was back in the starting lineup, so that's one thing there. He did have a pretty quiet game. He took 5 shots, made 2 of them. Finished with 5 points, 2 rebounds, an assist, and a steal in just shy of 25 minutes. So I think that's probably what his minute cap was probably around that 25-minute restriction. Looking at potentially just reasons why maybe Ryan Rollins was moved to the bench. One, the Bucks only used 8 players in this game against the Raptors, so they went real short on the bench. Partially, and this is one of my big points, is because they played without Kyle Kuzma, who was out with an illness. I'm going to come back to that because I have some more overarching thoughts to that. I'm not trying to throw Ryan Rollins under the bus when I say this, but if you look at his last 5 games, not including the Toronto and Minnesota games, he, against Brooklyn, was 5 for 11, had a good game there, scored 11 points. Against Boston, he was 4 for 10 from the field. And then against Detroit, 4 for 14. So he was struggling to shoot a little bit. I'm not saying that guys that struggle shooting don't get to keep playing more minutes, because there are absolutely guys who are allowed to shoot themselves out of funks. AJ Green being one of them. Again, we'll get to that point when we get to the Timberwolves game. But I do also think, like I said, playing without Kyle Kuzma, I do think they tried to move an impact player to the bench unit to play alongside Bobby Portis and Gary Harris, who were the only three guys who played off the bench in the Toronto game. Now, without Kyle Kuzma, the Bucks were primarily beat against Toronto by Brandon Ingram, who was 9 of 18 from the field, and Scotty Barnes, who was 10 of 14 from the field. So those two guys, the unfortunate thing about that is I believe that if Kyle Kuzma were to have played this game, that he would have been the primary defender on those two. That could have helped the Bucks. Obviously, having Giannis could have helped the Bucks too, but having Kyle Kuzma, I believe, could have helped swing this game in their favor as they played almost this entire game, basically, after getting down by 15 early, played almost the entire game between 5 and 9 points down. So it was a single-digit game, almost the entire game after they dug out of the hole that they had early in the game, which is something that they need to work on. They need to stop getting down early and then trying to dig themselves out of it. If they can just play even early, then when they make their push, they can start getting leads and playing from ahead, kind of how we saw in the Timberwolves game. But with that said, looking defensively versus Brandon Ingram was 3 for 8 from the field versus Kevin Porter Jr., 1 for 4 against Bobby Portis, who did show some defensive effort, which I do appreciate. But again, I do think it might be kind of just a little bit too late with Bobby Portis, who's been here for 5 years and now is just, the consistency is not there with the defensive effort, just like it's not there with the production. And then Ingram was 2 for 5 against Miles Turner. Combined versus the Garys, he was 5 for 7 from the field. So he's a guy that his MO is to take advantage of smaller defenders, be able to shoot over them, and I would say that Brandon Ingram is comfortably one of the best mid-range shooters in the NBA. Then you look at Scotty Barnes. If you go and look at his defensive matchups, it doesn't even pay to list them out because he shot well versus everybody. Obviously being 10 of 14 from the field, had a pretty good game, just all around. So I do wish Kyle Kuzma was available in this game. I think the Bucks losing by 6, I think he could have helped swing this game in their favor. With that, the Bucks did outscore the Raptors 19-12 in points off turnovers, 13-12 in second chance points. That's really solidifying to me that with another small forward / power forward defender in the half court, that they could have won the game. And this is something that they are doing better, looking at the second chance points and the offensive rebounding. Like I said last week, if the Bucks can keep their opponents under 15 second chance points and under 12 offensive rebounds per game, I do think that puts them in good positions to not be such an Achilles heel like it has been early in the season. The Raptors did have 12 offensive rebounds to get their 12 second chance points. So that's not a huge deal. It is good to see Miles Turner in this game was aggressive with his shooting. He did take 14 shots, only made 6 of them for 43%, but he was 4 of 10 from the three-point line, which is 40%. I will take that all day long. That's above average three-point shooting. I will take that from Miles Turner. With his aggressive shooting, I do think he can average like 18 points a night. He had 21 points in this game to go with his 6 rebounds and 2 assists. And got to the free throw line, which is another part of being aggressive. But I do think he's a guy who can average 18-ish points a night just by hunting shots when he's open. He doesn't have to force anything, which he's not. I'm not saying he's forcing any of the shots that he's taking, but just being aggressive. And that's something I'm going to talk about actually with another player when we get to the Timberwolves game. I will say the Bucks could have shot better from 2. They had some opportunities to miss some open mid-range. I do also think they had some missed layups, some attempting to draw fouls, which when you look at Gary Trent Jr.'s stat line in this game, it's rough to look at. He was 1 for 8 and 1 for 5 from the three-point line. He's got games where he's trying to be aggressive. He's trying to drive to the basket. He's trying to draw contact. He's trying to get some calls. And I can tell you, I don't remember the last time that Gary Trent Jr. shot a free throw. It's annoying. Like, he's trying, but again, if this guy was wearing number 2 in a blue jersey with some orange accents on it, he'd probably be shooting 8 to 10 free throws a game. But that's just not the reality for Gary Trent Jr. So it's kind of leaving him in a bad spot where he's trying to be aggressive and get to the free throw line, and he's just not getting any calls, which is just the unfortunate reality for the Milwaukee Bucks this season. With that, they were getting some foul shots in the first half. They got 10 out of 12 free throws. The Raptors shot 0, which they were making shots, so there weren't really a lot of opportunities for them to get to the free throw line. But then you look at the second half, Bucks get no more calls. Bucks only shot 4 free throws in the second half. So 21 free throws for Toronto in the second half. So it's great that, the Bucks had a 12-0 advantage in the first half, just for that to be completely erased by a 17 attempt disparity in the second half. So any opportunity for the Bucks to actually outshoot their opponent at the free throw line completely wiped out by a minus 17 free throw disparity in the second half. Now, like other games, their offensive distribution did not change much. 18 in the first half, 19 in the second half, 3-point attempts, 12-0 for free throws in the first half. Like I said, is a big gap, but 21-4 is much bigger, unfortunately. I will say this was their first game since the previous Sunday when they got blown out by the Brooklyn Nets. Their ball movement was better. It was better to see the ball moving. They had 25 assists on 38 made field goals with just 16 turnovers, which is okay. I'd still like them to be close to about 13. But Toronto had the same number of turnovers, and it didn't lead to a lopsided number of field goal attempts like we've seen. The Nets got 6 more attempts on Sunday. The Celtics had 8 more attempts last Thursday. Both teams shot 84 field goals in this game, but the Raptors just made 4 more shots, hence the 6-point loss. Other than that, I don't really have much else when it comes to the Bucks and Raptors game, losing by 6 without either one of your power forwards, who have both, obviously one's an MVP and one has played a much bigger role for the Bucks this season than really anybody thought he would. I do think this is kind of I don't want to say like an optimistic game to look at, but it is, I guess, some slight improvement. And I feel similarly about this Timberwolves game because out of a 48-minute basketball game, the Bucks were the better team for about 42 minutes of it. It just comes down to, unfortunately, one stretch of the game that can impact your team and really kind of ruin things for you. And for the Milwaukee Bucks, it was a 6-minute and 38 stretch in the third quarter against the Timberwolves. They got off to a really good start. They were up 13-4 early in the game. They were playing zone defense. They were getting stops. It helped keep the Timberwolves slow. Just having a good start on both ends had the lead up to 14 points in the first half, a little bit more. Wolves got within 6 after a turnover. The Bucks pushed a 6-0 run to push it back to 12 points with Miles Turner hitting back-to-back threes. Now, one other point to why Jake asking why is Ryan Rollins moved out of the starting lineup. This game, unfortunately, we did see, this is something I brought up years ago when the Bucks first brought Ryan Rollins to the Milwaukee Bucks and he was playing with them in Summer League. It's not an often thing, but there are times where Ryan Rollins exhibits bad shot selection. And it reared its head in this game at times, and I'm not saying he's the reason why the Bucks lost. That's absolutely not at all what I'm saying, because there were times where I do actually believe that Ryan Rollins getting downhill helped keep the Bucks afloat, helped break some of the momentum that the Timberwolves had when they were going on their big run in the third quarter. But like I said with Miles Turner, talking about the Raptors game, being aggressive but playing aggressive within the flow of the offense. That's something we've talked about earlier this season with Bobby Portis, is being aggressive and taking shots, shooting the ball. We absolutely want you to shoot the ball, but doing it within the flow of the offense and not forcing stuff. You don't have to force the step backs. You don't have to force the floaters and stuff like that when you feel like you're going to potentially try to draw a foul, which could absolutely be said for Gary Trent Jr. as well. He was 2 for 11 in this game. And just unfortunately, I do think maybe Gary Trent Jr. is due for a change of scenery. I love that he came back on a team-friendly deal after performing well in the series against Indiana last spring, but he's off to a really, really rough start this season, and I think he might just benefit from a change of scenery. But I have no ill will towards Gary Trent Jr. It's just an unfortunate scenario. With that, looking at the third quarter specifically, the Bucks had a 6-2 start. They got their lead up to 16, and then they started settling for some jump shots. That is what's killed the Bucks a bunch of times this season, is when they start to settle for jump shots, taking the step backs and stuff like that. With that, Timberwolves go on a 10-2 run after a timeout, another 5-0 run. It's a 15-2 run for the Timberwolves. The lead is down to 3. Then the Bucks, their aggressiveness is just gone. Everybody's kind of looking at each other to see who's going Who's going to lead and be like, okay, I'm going to go get us a bucket, and the Bucks run into a shot clock violation, followed by another 3 by the Timberwolves to tie the game. Gary Trent Jr. then in the next possession misses 2 threes. To his credit, he was wide open for both of them. You just got to knock those down. We just need Gary to be knocking those down. We need shooters to be making their open shots. Whether or not Giannis is in the game or not, if you're open, those are the ones we need to make. Gary missed 2 in the same possession, and Timberwolves hit another. And Doc Rivers did the right thing, called a timeout. Bucks got to stop, and then Bobby Portis misses a wide open layup. Goes to try to collect the ball, steps on the baseline while he's trying to corral the ball and get another attempt, and it becomes a turnover. Next time down, Timberwolves get an alley-oop. Bucks were stuck on 68 points for 6 minutes and 38 seconds. It's a really, really rough spot to be in. Obviously, it sucks being 6.5 minutes without any points, and that's where I believe that Ryan Rollins did his best work, helping get downhill, helped get the lid off the basket for the Bucks. They were tied going into the fourth quarter. Terrence Shannon Jr., of all people, getting hot, put the Wolves up by 4 by making 3 straight threes. Bucks got down by 5 in a brutal stretch by Bobby Portis. Really unfortunate. Bucks get a stop. He dribbles down in transition, touches the free throw line, and just loses the ball, and it turns into a 3 for the Timberwolves. And then Bobby Portis, the next possession. Again, you got to be able to make the wide open ones. Wide open in the corner, misses the 3, and there it is. There is the snowball that has now become too big to roll down the hill anymore. This again, Trage, to his credit, asked me the question, is it an effort thing? Is it an execution thing? Is it a coaching thing? I'm not saying that it's been a perfect season for Doc Rivers, because it obviously hasn't been, but these 2 losses I don't think are on Doc Rivers. I don't think when people are talking about this, they're like, Doc Rivers needs to be fired today. Like, not because of this game. There's other games, and maybe you look at some of the scheme issues and stuff like that. Like, sure. But the third quarter, that's execution. That's guys settling. Doc Rivers called the timeouts when he should have, when the momentum was building for the Timberwolves. He did what he's supposed to. He can't go out there and put the ball in the basket for guys. He did that back in the day when they wore super short shorts. He's done. He's on the sideline. He can't put the ball in the basket for the players. The players need to go and put the ball in the basket. They need to be aggressive, and they need to do the stuff that they did in the first half. Like, they built a huge lead, and in the early third quarter, they built a huge lead by being aggressive. Kevin Porter Jr. is a great example. Getting downhill, attacking the basket. Kyle Kuzma, same thing. He only has 5 field goal attempts. If you look at his box score, shot 8 free throws. By getting to the free throw line, by being aggressive. Those are the things that are important. That's how you build just essentially, I don't want to say rapport, because you're not trying to be buddies with the refs, but that's how you get yourself to the free throw line effectively, is by being aggressive the whole game and setting the tone. The Bucks, I will say, again, they lost this game by 3 points. They lost both of these games combined by 9 points. They were spacing better. The pick and roll, the pick and pop were working effectively. The ball movement was better than the last handful of games coming into this week. And the Bucks were playing well downhill. They got into bonus early in the second quarter and then stayed aggressive. The first half free throws, I was like, oh, okay, this game kind of feels like the Bucks are getting a lot of free throws, getting to the free throw line a lot. Shot 16 free throws, made 14. And then I look at the Timberwolves. They also made 14 free throws in the first half, but they had attempted 21. Second half, the Bucks did get 4 more free throws to the 2 free throws for the Timberwolves, but they did a good job. The first half was really, really good. They were beating a good team. They were up by double digits on a good team. It's like, okay, cool. We're going to have, a loss to talk about, but then a good win over a Timberwolves team to talk about. And, to Jake's credit, the Bucks rebounded better. They actually out-rebounded the Timberwolves 51-46 in this game, kept Minnesota under those 12 offensive rebounds that I was talking about. They had 11 and kept them under 15 points for second chance points. They only had 10. This was, the big thing for me with this game, 13-45 on threes. That's 28.9%, which is woof. You look at AJ Green, who was 1 of 8. This is one of his worst games in his career. I will say he is on his second game back from returning from a shoulder injury. So I will give him some time to kind of get back from that. And then Gary Trent Jr., like I said, maybe a benefit of a change of scenery. He was 2 for 7 from the 3-point line. And then the other thing that killed the Bucks is live ball turnovers, especially when you're in transition. Because like I said, the Bucks' zone defense, I think it did good. I think they were good with it. They got stops with it. They slowed Timberwolves' offense down. But the live ball turnovers, there was multiple times where it led to Minnesota getting points. Minnesota scored 23 points off the Bucks' 16 turnovers. That's in a game they lost by 3 points. If they get down those 3 turnovers, just from 16 to 13, that's 3 opportunities that the Bucks didn't get that the Timberwolves then did get. Looking at the field goal attempts, Timberwolves had 88, the Bucks had 87, and then you look at the Timberwolves shooting 3 more free throws. There's your possessions right there. Those turnovers, that's the killer right there. Timberwolves only had 10. Bucks had 16 and allowed 23 points off turnovers. The Bucks themselves, they only scored 7 points off turnovers. That's a 16-point disparity just in that category alone. So the Bucks, to their not credit, but losing a game by 3 when you shot 29% from the 3-point line. Again, I don't want to say that it's it's an optimism thing that it's like, oh, okay, the Bucks are really close, but I guess it's closer. It's to the point where like my hopes for the season are not dead, but they do rest entirely on the health of Giannis Antetokounmpo. If Giannis comes back healthy, I do still believe this team can go on a run. They can win bunches of games at a time, but they need to be doing the things, building the habits, something that they say all the time with the Bucks. They need to be building the habits that they're going to need with Giannis back now. And I think a lot of these guys are doing that. So again, I'm not saying that, we need to be excited about the Bucks losing games because I'm obviously not excited about it. But I do think the building blocks are there for what they want to do. And then obviously, as trade season heats up, John Horst is going to be aggressive. He's going to build around Giannis, not get rid of Giannis, which is going to be the right thing to do. You don't trade generational players. So we'll see. The Milwaukee Bucks, they do play again tonight against the Indiana Pacers. That is what I would say is pretty much a must-win, even without Giannis, which obviously, playing without Giannis, not everything is a guaranteed win. But tonight I think is a must-win for the Bucks. Other than that, they play Friday at the Memphis Grizzlies. This is part of a 5-game road trip. They play Saturday at Chicago, Monday at Charlotte. The Bucks do have a back-to-back on Friday and Saturday, with 3 of those road games, plus tonight being the 4th road game. Looking at it, Grizzlies, Bulls, Hornets, if these guys can win at least 2 of those, if they could win all 3, that would be fantastic, because I think we're looking at potentially Giannis coming back sometime around this time next week, maybe next week, Tuesday or Wednesday. So maybe our New Year's present will be getting Giannis back, which would be great. So other than that, Jake didn't really have much on the Timberwolves game. He said they played so much better. This was one where this was their 1 game a week where it seems like they played super hard on both ends of the court. Ball movement was just really good. It didn't get shown on the stat sheet because they missed so many open jumpers. But you compete like that, you wouldn't have the record you have, which I agree. I definitely think there were some games that could have been improved with some better effort. So with that, I'm going to switch over to Badgers basketball. We're going to bring in Mike, so I will have somebody on screen with me now, and switch to the Badgers loss against Villanova. And I will start. I'm just going to start with Jake's notes from the Badgers and Villanova game, because he doesn't have a whole lot with covering the bigs, but I'm just glad I got something from him. So, Mike, we can always fill in a little bit, but Jake's notes said that Austin Rapp almost seems like a lost cause. He's 0 impact right now. He's not scoring efficiently, and we can't keep anyone in front of him. So, going to have a very big contrast on Austin Rapp in these 2 games.
Yeah.
So we can put a pin in Austin Rapp, thankfully, and we'll come back to him. And then Jake said with Nolan Winter, he's trying, and it almost seems like he feels like the only guy who cares, but he can't battle down low alone, which I do agree with. Nolan Winter, and then after this game, the Badgers lose, and Nolan Winter is crying in the post game, saying, you can see that he cares. So that, I guess, is somewhat reassuring that it's not like, oh, Nolan Winter is just here and the Badgers are losing, so we have to worry about if he's going to transfer in the offseason. He seems like a guy who genuinely cares, genuinely wants to be here, genuinely wants to put a good team on the floor for Badgers fans. So I do appreciate that. I don't know if you have any thoughts that you want to throw out there on the bigs.
No, I mean, you summed it up perfectly in my view. You see that he's playing outstanding lately. I mean, given, yes, we're not winning every game, but just looking at this, stat line alone, goes for 23 points, 9 of 12 shooting, 4 or 6 from 3. We're finally starting to see once he catches that ball at the top of the key, because at the beginning of the year he kind of struggled a little bit to get a little hot. Now when you're playing, and he's doing it against good competition clearly too, which is a very, very good sign. But no, I mean, he goes for 23 and 11 against a team like Villanova. I mean, that's very good sign. No, I mean, once you just see a guy who gives a shit at the end of the day, right? And is proud to wear the Wisconsin logo, which, as you know, in today's age, and this goes for any sport really, whether it's getting guys through the portal or whatnot, it's really nice to see. It's kind of a breath of fresh air, I guess you could say, in terms of seeing kids that truly, truly want to play for the school itself and not just collect that paycheck. So, when I watch that after the game, I mean, I as a fan, you can't help but be grateful for having a kid like that on your team.
Yep. Yeah. Looking at the other bigs, I mean, looking at Alexis Biliauskas, he played 28 minutes, had 2 points. Need a little bit more efficiency out of him, I would say, but 6 rebounds and assists, 3 turnovers is a little rough, and had a block. I do still think he presents a better opportunity for the Badgers defensively and in the rebounding game than Austin Rapp does. I mean, I guess we're really looking at Nolan Winter to kind of carry the front court.
Yeah.
Looking at the wings, John Blackwell was 5 of 14 from the field. Obviously, as we know, going into the Central Michigan game, he's dealing with some nagging injuries. I'm still wondering if it's potentially the shoulder/elbow injury that he had from the week before when he got illegally screened and had a bad game against Nebraska. But again, he was 2 for 5 from the 3-point line, which is good. 2 for 3 from the free throw line, which is okay. I'd just like to see him play with a little more aggressiveness and shoot like 7 to 10 free throws a game. And something that's been a trend, unfortunately, the last week and a half, only 1 rebound in 38 minutes. 1 assist in 38 minutes to go with 3 turnovers. Mm-hmm. So guys finding ways to being able to turn over the ball, but not being able to find ways to put the ball into the guys' hands that they play with, or go and grab rebounds. Like, you look at the rebounding totals in this game. Nolan Winter had 11. Biliauskas had 6. And Andrew Rohde, the next guy I'm going to get to, had 4. Boyd, the point guard, had 5. And 2 guys off the bench who played 8 and 13 minutes had 2 apiece. And John Blackwell had 1 in 38 minutes. Mm-hmm. I think it was last week, Rohde played like 28 minutes. He had 1 rebound in a game. You brought up Janicki playing something like 25 minutes in a game last week and having 0 rebounds. Like,
yeah.
Go join the bigs down there. Go help them out a little bit on the rebounding. Andrew Rohde, this game, I will say was a little bit better. He was 2 for 4, had 2 for 3 from the 3, made 2 of the 3s, had 6 points. He grabbed some rebounds. He had 4 this game. That's good. He had 3 assists, which is also good. But like John Blackwell, I'd like to see him be a little more aggressive. I will say, to Andrew Rohde's credit, he played really good defense on the final possession in regulation. Getting switched onto a smaller guard, kind of felt like that's what Villanova was going for. He did a good job to contest a shot and not allow Villanova to win in regulation. And then, unfortunately, this game, Braden Carrington was out, so I don't have any notes for Braden Carrington. But just looking at the team as a whole, allowing shooters to get so clean of looks in the first half was rough. Like the flybys, just not rotating, something I brought up last week as well. And then only having 22 points in the first half. That's laughable. We'll say second half, they were much more downhill. They chipped away, erased a 15-point lead, tied the game with 31.6 seconds left, got to OT, and then they just missed basically every shot from every spot. But I guess kudos for getting this game to OT in the first place. But it's like the TCU game for me, like this one. It's not like the Nebraska and BYU losses where it's just like, Jesus, you just got demolished. This one was like, okay, it was great that you chipped away and, got back in the game late, but you needed that effort sooner to not be in such a big hole that you can't come back from it. Mm-hmm. So what did you take away from the guards in the Villanova game?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of summed it up right there. This is like a tale of 2 halves in this game, right? And I guess overtime too or whatever. But Yeah, but I'll start with because I'm going to go into a couple other stats that are a little mind-boggling. But no, I mean Nick Boyd, kind of what you brought it up. I mean, he played with the overtime. It seems a little over the top, but he played for 42 minutes in this game. 19 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. Still 3 turnovers. That's stuff that we do have to clean up. There was definitely a stretch in this game where he was definitely looking a little disjointed, frustrated, and yeah. But I mean, we just gotta clean that up at the end of the day. But I will say, to speak to his credit, I mean, between the big three, quote unquote, between him, John Blackwell, and Nolan Winter, they accounted for 56 of the 66 points, right? So that's just one
Put
of
a pin
those.
in that too, though.
And I'm going, yeah, and that's something I'm going to get to soon. But I mean, just to finish up here with him, still 7 of 17 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3. I mean, again, he showed signs of life for sure. He was a big part of why we got back into this game, that we were in this game in the second half. But there's definitely some, as far as decision making goes, that he has to clean up quite a bit, I guess, in my view. And he also, in my view, too, and this is, I can let you chime in on this too. He's definitely more of a scoring guard, I think. After watching him for the first half of this year, I would almost put him in a scoring guard category rather than an actual true point guard. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I think I'm leaning towards
agree to that. I think he's more of a push the pace type point guard.
Yeah.
That's the thing I see him doing the most, is pushing the pace, which is something you want a point guard to do. Then he is, he's not like Tyler Kolek, who is like, all right, let's run the offense, let's pick it apart, and let's find the open guy type point guard. I think he's a push the pace kind of guy, which is still good. Like, you still want that on your team. It's just a different style.
Yeah, it's again, we talked about this before the season started. He's a different kind of guard that Wisconsin's not necessarily used to. So I guess it's just different watching, but no, it's all right. But and now we get into the points where I'm not going to be too happy about. I mean, I talked about this with him before. Jack Janicki comes in, plays 13 minutes, did get 2 rebounds, 1 turnover, 1 shot attempt. Okay, now, and this goes into my point about the bench. The bench had 2 points this whole game on 5 combined shots. That is it. Now, I know Braden Carrington was out. I get that, but you also have a kid like Jack Janicki who's got experience playing 20-plus minutes in a game multiple times. And you also have somebody like Austin Rapp, who also say I would put him in the same category. And unfortunately, I'm going to put Hayden Jones maybe not quite in that category, but I mean, this bench production has just got to get better. It's got to get better ASAP. And thankfully, when we talk about this next game, we're going to have something positive to speak about that. But it's something that has to get better long term. I'm definitely disappointed in the season that Jack Janicki's having so far. I have expected more out of him, and I do think going forward, his minutes are up for grabs, and there's a reason why a certain someone played in this last game.
You want to just transition into it right away, or you got more you want to say about Villanova?
Actually, let me go. I'm going to call out a couple things. One more call out, I guess. The biggest like key in this game was the turnover battle, right? Wisconsin had 16, Villanova had 8. The points off turnovers, 15 for Villanova, 3 for Wisconsin. There's your game right there, right? So.
Yeah,
that's all. Honestly, I think that's what it was. Like,
yeah.
If I am going to take away something positive, I'll close it on that. We actually showed that we can make a comeback of some sorts when we do fall behind. This is the first time this year in a loss, I get whatever, that we fell behind significantly and we actually came back. So, and we actually, once we got punched in the face, we didn't just roll over and cave. We actually fought back in the second half. As you said, we were down 15 and made that comeback. It's nice to know that we can overcome a little bit of adversity and at least put us in a position to, potentially go and win the game. So that's all. I'll end on that.
Yeah. Okay. So put a pin in all those same things you were just talking about with like Janicki, the bench, stuff like that, and just flip it now to the good side.
Right. So I'll actually start with the bench guy. I'll start with the bench guys this game for Central Michigan. Then I'll go into Nick Boyd. But I mean, yeah, this is a get right game, I guess, from the start. And it's not just for certain certain kids on the team, but I guess the bench for sure. We went from literally 0 bench points, or was it 2? Sorry, 2 bench points to 44 bench points,
44,
which is literally half the points we scored in this game. So that's
I think I saw that was like the most bench points they've had since like 1990 something.
Which is insane. And if there's a team that needs it, it's these guys. But I'll start with Jack Janicki because he showed some signs of life. Granted, Central Michigan has played horrible zone defense, but he went for 24 minutes, 4 points, 1 rebound, 9 assists, which was really good to see. At the end of the day, if you can't make shots, you got to find other ways to be a part of the game. And contributing from an assist standpoint or playing defense is the best way to do it. So no, I mean, his biggest part of this game was he excelled playing in the middle while Central Michigan was running that 2-3 zone defense on us. A very piss poor one, mind you. But we took in this game too. The biggest difference was we took the shots that were like given to us. We didn't force anything, right? That was another part in the game against Nova that I was going to point out. I thought guys were also passing up on shots in that game in comparison to this one. No, Jack Janicki put guys in good spots. I mean, he set up Zach Kinzinger for one of his 3-point buckets and vice versa, as you called that out yesterday.
3-point bucket.
But no, we needed this get bad for bench players. And I'll go into Zach Kinzinger, 13 minutes, 6 points, 2 of 4 from 3, 1 rebound, 2 assists. First points as a Badger. My first impressions of him, since this is his first game, he looks like he belongs out there too. You saw him at times also not just become a shooting guard, but he brought the ball down too. And the way he was handling it, I was very impressed. He looked like he could, take on some pressure if he has to play the one at some point. I would be willing to at least give him a shot to see what else he can bring because he looked like he belongs out there. That was the biggest takeaway out of all of this. I always had a hunch in the back of my head that he would be from the start, but and the guys after the game, both Braden Carrington and Austin Rapp, because they're in the presser, they said that he's been quote unquote cooking us in practice for a while now. So they see it every day in practice. So that was good. Coach Guard raved about him after the game as well. Quote unquote, he's never had a bad day in practice. And, he's just been consistent throughout the whole, time behind the scenes. So, and then I'll go into Hayden Jones real quick. He made his first career start for the Badgers due to the absence of John Blackwell. 24 minutes, 6 points, 4 rebounds. Did okay. He did have 2 turnovers, but he did have some nice moments. He had a nice drive to the baseline for an and one finish. I think that was right in the second half, I believe. And his first bucket was actually off an awesome 2-hand dunk off a pass from Alexis Bielauskas. Actually, we missed that due to stupid TV.
I was like, oh, I heard that happen. I'm like, and then they never showed a replay of it either. So I was like, well.
Yeah. So no, I watched that in the highlights the next day. It actually looked pretty sick. So shout out to Hayden on his first career start. And then going to Nick Boyd, kind of a quiet day for his standards, but hey, that's okay. This is a get-right game for a lot of other guys. He played 25 minutes, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist only, and 1 turnover, 3 of 8 shooting, 0 of 3 from 3. I would like to see him get more in that assist category, maybe have a couple more on average going forward, I guess. That's the one call-out. But, ultimately, this game belonged to the bench, and it was something that was much needed because we are going to need these guys going forward. And I guess quickly, long-term, where's now that you played the kid, where is Zach Kinzinger going to fit in this rotation? You can't just play him against Central Michigan and not play him the rest of the year. Yeah. So I think I personally think that if he keeps playing the way he's playing, I think he might take away some minutes from Jack Janicki. I think the way it's trending, because right now, at least and again, it's a small sample size playing against Central Michigan. Yep. But I thought, he was more useful, out there. He looked like he belonged. That was, again, the biggest takeaway. And I don't know. I'll let you. If you have any thoughts on that, I'll let you chime in. But to me, he looks like he belongs out there, and he's obviously going to be a part of the rotation because otherwise you would not play him in the middle of the year like this
Yep.
Against Central Michigan, just burn your red shirt like that.
So I do agree with you. I do think if there's anybody's minutes that he's taking for sure, it's Jack Janicki's. Now, the thing that is, you look at this game and Jack Janicki played well. And there's one super big thing that you see if you look at the box score and you're like, oh, damn, Jack Janicki had 9 assists? And it's like, okay, so leading the team in assists, which is great, but this is one game and it's against Central Michigan. So I think, obviously John Blackwell being out, I think played a part in there being minutes available. And obviously that's why Hayden Jones started. He played 24 minutes. I think it's going to be kind of a game-by-game basis, if I'm being honest with you. And I do think that there's opportunities for Kinziger to win more minutes outside of where we see it happening in the games, and that's going to be in practices. But looking at this game specifically, Janicki playing 24 minutes, Kinziger playing 13. Let's just say that there's 30 minutes to split between the two of them. I do still think it's going to be for at least a little bit, like 2/3 Janicki, 1/3 Kinziger. But I think as the year goes on, we might start to see it even out. And then I wouldn't be shocked if Kinziger ends up winning more minutes if he keeps playing the way that he did. And I said this to you as it was happening during the game last night. The basketball gods, it's real. You see Zach Kinziger, he gets a ball in the corner, pump fakes, drives down the baseline, and instead of putting up a floater, trying to get his first points, he finds a cutting Jack Janicki, and they get a layup out of it. And the very next possession, Jack Janicki's bringing the ball up in transition and finds Kinziger in the same corner for his first 3 points. Like, it's the basketball finds energy, and it rewards the guys who play the game, the right way. And that was evident in the threes, the 2 threes that Kinziger made. So I guess I'm looking at it as like a timeshare between the two of them.
Yeah. No, it's a good assessment. It really is. I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out because, I mean, again, you're not playing a kid midway through the season like this against a god-awful Central Michigan team. If you think he's going to be a part of this team yet this year, there's a reason why they played him. They're not going to sit him the rest of the year now. So,
and like you said, that they've been raving about him in practice and stuff like that. Greg Gard, to your point, you brought up, maybe wanting to see him last week when Jack Janicki wasn't playing his best, and brought him up playing. And Greg Gard basically said the same thing, that he's talking to the coaching staff and like, hey, we might have to play him with as well as he was performing in practice. So good for him. I'm excited to see more of him. The Badgers only have one game between now and next Wednesday. So they have Tuesday against UW Milwaukee. And then after that, they start a gauntlet.
Yeah. And
that's when we're going to find out a lot about the team.
Yes, we will.
So it's great seeing. I'm just going to read Jake's notes on the bigs. This being the game where Jake said that Austin Rapp was the player we all thought he could be, obviously versus a lower competition, but a step in the right direction. He played good enough defense and did a good job of mixing up his shot selection. Austin Rapp had 18 of the Badgers' 44 points from the bench, which I did look it up. It was the most in a game since the 2006-2007 season. So it wasn't quite back to the 90s, but since 06-07 was that number. 7 of 10 from the field, 4 of 7 on the 3-point line, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, no turnovers. So great game from Austin Rapp. Nolan Winter had 18 points, 8 rebounds, did go out of the game a couple minutes earlier than he probably would have after getting his ankle turned. He didn't turn his own ankle. The guy kind of kicked the back of his foot and made his ankle turn. The good part about that is he was watching the rest of the game from the tunnel, so couldn't have been hurting too bad if he was standing there watching, and it did sound like, based on what we heard today, that he should be fine, that he expects to be fine. So I would expect that we see Nolan Winter next week against UW Milwaukee. Looking at the wings, like you said, no John Blackwell this game, which is unfortunate because I feel like he's a guy that could use a get-right game. So I'm really, really hoping that he can play against UW Milwaukee next week and score 30 points in 25 minutes. So he can get in, score a bunch, and get out, and then, prepare for, like I said, the gauntlet that the Badgers have after New Year's. But Andrew Rohde, he played decent. He helped break the press, did have a couple bad turnovers, including one that almost gave up an easy bucket right before halftime, but had 5 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. And then Braden Carrington. This guy should be playing more than 9 minutes.
He only got 9?
9 minutes is what he's got. Now I will say he was out in the Villanova game, so there's a potential of him being on like a minutes restriction. But he's got to be playing more. His first bucket was a kick out. He had a pump fake, 1 dribble reset, hit a 3 for his first shot. Catch and shoot for his second shot. Cashes it. Playing really good on-ball defense. Blocked a shot to help force a shot clock violation. He made 3 threes. He was 3 of 6 from the field, 3 of 6 from the three-point line. Had 9 points, 2 rebounds, and a block. He does good things when he's out there. I haven't seen any like bad habit type stuff from him. I haven't seen like some horrible shot selection. I haven't seen him like lose track of guys on defense very often, if at all. And he's good on the ball on defense. And he's long and athletic. So like I want to see more Braden Carrington. And if it comes back to it that Austin Rapp, this was just a game where they played Central Michigan and that's where he goes off, and they get into points where they need better defensive guys out there, I want to see more Braden Carrington. And like I said, it is possible that his minutes were limited because he was coming back from his injury.
I'm thinking so. I'm pretty positive. I would think for sure.
My other notes from this game, Badgers dominated the rebounding battle. They won the rebounding 37-21 total and 8-2 in offensive rebounding. And I will say the biggest thing for me this game was better ball movement and better off-ball movement. Mm-hmm. Way more guys cutting to the basket, diving to the basket. They were locked in against Central Michigan's zone and playing against that correctly and moving around well. And the passing was great. The Badgers had 25 assists on 29 made field goals. That is awesome.
Can't get much better than that.
You really can't, because you figure some of those unassisted baskets are in transition, mm-hmm. and then just the occasional dribble pull up or drive and scoop. But with that, I mean, the Badgers had a few too many turnovers in the first half. 7 first half turnovers. If they take away probably, even say 2 or 3 of those and make a couple more of your free throws, I think the Badgers easily could have been up 20+ at halftime.
Yeah.
And they did correct it. They only turned the ball over twice in the second half, which is great. And then they just obviously pulled away. They led by I think they led up by as much as 30 something in the second half, but ended up winning by 27. So they did what they were supposed to, even without John Blackwell. And I have no complaints. And then they play next Tuesday against UW Milwaukee. So last thing I want to say before we let you guys go, I want to give a congratulations to former Wisconsin Badger. He did not finish at Wisconsin, but he played here for a long time. Chimere Dike was selected as a Pro Bowl kick returner for the Tennessee Titans. So I'm very excited for Chimere Dike. So I want to give a congrats to him because that's super cool. But other than that, we will be back next week. In addition to us having our Badgers versus Panthers recap, we are also going to have transfer portal targets for the Milwaukee, or not. I keep saying Milwaukee because it's the Milwaukee Panthers. For the Wisconsin Badgers football team, we're going to have transfer targets for the offensive line, running backs, quarterbacks, wide receivers, DBs, D-line. We're going to have a bunch of guys to highlight for potential transfer targets because the transfer portal window opens up on January 2nd, which is the following Friday. So we're going to have some portal targets with that. And then we're also going to join Scary Alvarez next Monday on his podcast to talk about some of the same types of stuff. So tune into that as well. Scary does really good stuff with the Badgers-related content, and then we're going to have ours next week. So hopefully Jake is recovered well enough to join the show next Wednesday. But other than that, everybody have a good Christmas, and tune in for our Packers show tonight, and we'll see you guys next week.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, have a good one, Mike.
Yep, later.